If you've ever looked at your garden and thought, this soil is just dead, you're not alone. I've been there. Plants struggling, water running off instead of soaking in, and nothing thriving, no matter how much compost I tossed around. It can be frustrating, especially when you've poured your heart into your raised beds or backyard patch. But here's the truth. Soil is never truly dead. It just needs the right spark to wake it up again. Underneath the surface, dormant microbes are waiting for a chance to come alive. Think of them like tiny workers snoozing in a dark room. What they need is food, shelter, and a little motivation. And the beauty of it? You don't have to slave away with complicated formulas or expensive inputs. With a few lazy but genius tricks, you can revive even the most lifeless soil and get it bursting with microbial activity again. Today on Soil Power, let's dive into the real ingredients that trigger microbial revival, and how you can bring your soil back to life without burning yourself out. Before we talk about revival, let's understand why microbes matter. Soil microbes, bacteria, fungi, protozoa, nematodes, are the hidden engine that powers your garden. They decompose organic matter, cycle nutrients, protect plants from disease, and even build soil structure. Without them, your soil is nothing more than a lifeless dirt pile. When soil gets compacted, stripped of organic matter, or drenched with chemicals, these microbes retreat into dormancy, or just disappear. That's when we say the soil is dead. But here's the exciting part. Microbes bounce back fast when conditions improve. Think of a dry sponge soaking up water. That's how quickly life can return once you give soil the right ingredients. If microbes had a favorite food, it would definitely be carbon. Organic matter like dried leaves, straw, shredded cardboard, or wood chips is honestly the buffet they crave. These carbon-rich materials are like carbohydrates for microbes. They provide the energy and fuel for their revival. When I first tried reviving a patch of hard, compacted clay in my yard, I covered it with a thick blanket of shredded leaves. Within just a few weeks, I noticed worms tunneling through, and the soil started to crumble in my hands instead of forming a brick. That's microbial life at work, breaking down carbon and rebuilding the soil web. So, the lazy genius method here? Well, don't overthink it. Just mulch thickly with whatever carbon sources you already have. Autumn leaves, straw from your chicken coop, or even shredded junk mail, as long as it's not glossy. Just lay it down and let microbes slowly wake up to the feast. While carbon gives microbes energy, they really can't function without nitrogen. It's their protein, the building block of their bodies. If you only add carbon-rich material, microbes will rob nitrogen from the soil, leaving your plants yellow and weak. This is where the balance comes in. To revive dead soil, pair your carb-heavy mulch with a nitrogen kick. That could mean tossing on fresh grass clippings, kitchen scraps, coffee grounds, or a sprinkling of aged manure. Even a cheap bag of alfalfa pellets, yeah, the kind used for animal feed, can give microbes that perfect nitrogen jolt. Here's the trick I use. I'll scatter coffee grounds and fresh green waste under my layer of dried leaves. It's lazy layering, but it keeps microbes humming along, and I don't have to micromanage ratios or turn piles. Over time, they handle the balance better than I ever could. Microbes are like us, they need water to live, but they'll drown if it's too much. Dry soil keeps them in hibernation, while soggy soil suffocates them. The sweet spot is moist, like a wrung-out sponge. If your soil is lifeless, chances are it's either too compacted to hold water or drains so fast that microbes can't thrive. Mulching is again your lazy genius fix. By covering your soil with organic matter, you keep it moist longer, regulate temperature, and create a perfect microclimate for microbial revival. I like to water deeply right before mulching, then let the organic blanket do the work. Over time, the microbes will rebuild soil structure so moisture naturally balances itself. Here's a secret most gardeners overlook. Microbes need plants as much as plants need microbes. Roots exude sugars, proteins, and other goodies that microbes thrive on. Without living roots, soil biology slows down, no matter how much compost you add. That's why I always tell gardeners, never leave your soil bare. If you've harvested your veggies and don't have another crop ready, toss in a quick cover crop like clover, buckwheat, or even radishes. These living roots are like a constant buffet for microbes. And if you want the ultimate lazy trick, just mix a handful of mixed cover crop seeds and broadcast them over your bed. Let them grow, chop them down when they flower, and then leave the roots to feed your soil. Microbes will reward you with soil that's, richer and more alive than ever. Not all microbes are the same. Bacteria love fresh, fast-decomposing materials, but fungi are actually the real long-haul soil builders. They break down woody material, form networks that connect plant roots, and honestly, improve long-term fertility. If your soil feels truly dead, chances are fungal life is missing. To invite them back, add fungal foods like wood chips, bark mulch, or even, a sprinkle of spent mushroom compost. You don't need much, just a top dressing is enough to start the fungal revival. So one year I dumped a bag of wood chips from a local tree service over a neglected garden bed. By the following spring, white fungal threads were weaving through the mulch, and the soil beneath was soft and dark. That's the sign of a fungal comeback. Sometimes dead soil just needs a jumpstart, an inoculation of life to get things rolling. This doesn't mean you have to buy expensive microbial powders. Nature, honestly, provides plenty of free inoculants. A scoop of finished compost, a handful of forest soil, or a splash of actively aerated compost tea can seed your soil with trillions of microbes. Once they're in and you provide food, moisture, and shelter, they multiply rapidly. I love brewing a lazy compost tea by tossing a shovel of compost into a bucket of water, letting it sit a day or two, then pouring it over my garden beds. It's not fancy, but it introduces a diversity of microbes that spring into action the moment they hit their new home. This one's less tangible but just as important. Microbial revival doesn't happen overnight. You can sprinkle, mulch, and water, but microbes follow their own timeline. The good news? Once conditions improve, revival happens faster than you think. When I first layered carbon, nitrogen, and mulch over dead soil, it took a season before I saw a dramatic change, but now, years later, that bed is teeming with worms, fungal networks, and plants that practically grow themselves. Patience is part of the lazy genius method, because the less you fuss, the more nature works in your favor. So, how do you put this all together without overcomplicating things? Well, here's the formula I swear by. First, water your soil deeply. Next, add a thin scattering of nitrogen-rich material, like grass clippings, food scraps, or coffee grounds. Then, cover with a thick blanket of carbon-rich mulch. Think leaves, straw, or wood chips. After that, sprinkle in a microbial inoculant, such as compost, forest soil, or even homemade compost tea. Plant something, really anything, to keep living roots feeding the soil. And finally, step back, relax, and just let nature do the work. The beauty of this lazy but honestly genius approach is that it mimics nature. In forests, no one's out there tilling or fertilizing. Leaves just fall, rains soak in, fungi spread, roots feed microbes, and over time the soil becomes dark, rich, and truly alive. By stacking carbon, nitrogen, moisture, and inoculants, you're actually recreating those natural conditions right in your own backyard. The result is soil that not only revives but becomes self-sustaining, less work for you, and more health for your plants. Dead soil isn't the end of your gardening journey. It's the beginning of a comeback story. With just a few simple ingredients, you can spark microbial revival and transform lifeless dirt into thriving, living soil. Remember, microbes aren't asking for perfection. They don't care if your mulch is uneven, if your compost tea isn't fancy, or even if your cover crop is a little patchy. They just need food, water, roots, and time. Give them that, and they'll repay you with abundance. So if your raised beds or backyard garden feel lifeless, don't give up. Layer, water, plant, and wait. Trust me, it works. I've seen dead patches turn into thriving ecosystems without backbreaking effort. That's the power of lazy but genius soil revival. If you found this guide helpful, don't forget to hit subscribe to Soil Power and share this with a fellow gardener who might be struggling with their soil. Let's keep spreading the knowledge and the microbes.